The highway stretched endlessly ahead of me, the dark ribbon of asphalt illuminated only by my headlights. It was past midnight, and I was the only car in sight, my eyes growing heavy with the monotony of the drive. I had been on the road for hours, making my way back from a weekend trip to visit an old friend. The occasional road sign was my only company, pointing me toward a home that felt farther away with each passing mile. It was then that I noticed the truck. At first, it was just a pair of headlights in the distance behind me. I didn't think much of it, just another traveler on this lonely stretch of road. But as I continued to drive, those headlights seemed to draw closer, their beams cutting through the darkness like two sharp blades. I adjusted my rearview mirror, hoping the truck would pass, but it didn't. Instead, it held steady, matching my speed exactly. I felt a flutter of unease. I was already doing a bit over the speed limit, but I pressed the gas pedal slightly, hoping to put some distance between us. The truck did the same. My heart began to race. I took a deep breath, telling myself it was nothing. Maybe they were just in a hurry, I thought, or maybe they were just on their phone and not paying attention. But when I sped up again, the truck stayed right on my tail, almost as if it was glued there. I could feel my pulse thudding in my temples now. I glanced at the gas gauge, just under half a tank. I could make it another 100 miles or so, but my nerves were fraying fast. I decided to switch lanes to let the truck pass. I slowed down slightly, pulling into the right lane, but the truck followed, still tailing me, its headlights glaring in my mirrors. "What do you want?" I muttered to myself, my hands gripping the steering wheel tighter. Suddenly, the truck's headlights flashed, high beams blinding me for a split second. I flinched, my car swerving slightly, and I quickly corrected it. I could feel sweat beginning to form on the back of my neck. This was no coincidence. Whoever was driving that truck was playing some kind of game. I needed to get away. Up ahead, I saw a green highway sign for a rest stop a mile away. I decided to take the exit. If they followed me, I could at least get to a place where there might be other people, where maybe I could call for help. I took a deep breath and flicked on my turn signal, heading toward the off-ramp. My eyes flicked to the rearview mirror. The truck's turn signal blinked on too. My stomach twisted in fear. The rest stop was deserted. The only light came from a couple of dim street lamps casting long, eerie shadows. I pulled into a parking spot near the entrance of the small building that housed restrooms and vending machines. My heart was pounding in my chest, a drumbeat of panic. I watched the truck roll slowly into the lot behind me, its engine rumbling like a growl. I had a choice to make. I could stay in my car, but if they decided to block me in, I'd have no way out. Or I could run for the building and hope to find someone inside, or at least a place to hide. My gut told me to go. I grabbed my phone, shoved it in my pocket, and jumped out of the car, slamming the door behind me. I sprinted toward the rest stop building, hearing the truck's engine roar louder as it pulled into a space not far from my own car. My shoes pounded against the pavement, echoing in the stillness. I reached the door and yanked it open, slipping inside and letting it close softly behind me. My breathing was ragged, my nerves on edge. The building was empty. The fluorescent lights flickered weakly overhead, casting a sickly yellow glow on the worn linoleum floor. I moved quickly, ducking into a stall in the women's restroom and locking the door behind me. I crouched on top of the toilet, trying to make myself as small and silent as possible. I listened, straining to hear over my own rapid breathing. Footsteps echoed faintly outside, slow, deliberate footsteps. They were looking for me. My mind raced through my options. My phone was in my pocket, but I had no signal. I cursed under my breath. I should have called for help earlier before it got to this point. I heard the door to the restroom creak open and my breath caught in my throat. The footsteps grew louder, each one a heavy, measured step. I squeezed my eyes shut, praying they wouldn't check the stalls. I heard them stop just outside my door. A shadow moved under the gap, and I could see a pair of worn boots. My heart felt like it might burst from my chest. I waited, every muscle in my body tense. Then the footsteps retreated. I exhaled shakily, waiting until I was sure they were gone. I couldn't hear anything outside now, just the hum of the fluorescent lights above. I had to move. I carefully climbed down from the toilet and unlocked the stall, pushing the door open with a trembling hand. I peeked out and saw the restroom was empty. I crept to the door and looked outside, scanning the parking lot. My car was still there, but the truck had moved. It was now parked sideways across the exit, blocking any way out. I had one chance. I'd have to run for my car, start it up, and hope I could ram my way past. I took a deep breath, steeling myself. Then I bolted. The cool night air hit me like a slap as I sprinted for my car. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. I could hear the pounding footsteps behind me. I fumbled with my keys, yanking them from my pocket and jabbing the button to unlock the door. I threw myself inside, slamming the door shut and locking it. The figure was at my window now, a man with a scraggly beard and a wild look in his eyes. He pounded on the glass with a heavy flashlight, shouting something I couldn't hear over the blood rushing in my ears. I didn't wait to find out what he wanted. I twisted the key in the ignition, and the engine roared to life. I slammed my foot on the gas and spun the wheel, aiming directly for the narrow gap between the truck and the edge of the parking lot. The man jumped back as I barreled forward. I felt the side of my car scrape against the truck with a shriek of metal on metal, but I pushed through, my tires screeching as I shot back onto the highway. My heart was still racing as I sped down the road, not daring to look back. I didn't slow down until I saw the lights of a small town in the distance, relief washing over me. I pulled into a well-lit gas station, finally allowing myself to breathe. I glanced in the rearview mirror, expecting to see the truck's headlights following, but there was nothing. Just the dark, empty highway behind me. For a moment, I felt safe. But then, as I sat there, I heard the distinct rumble of a truck motor as it slowly grew louder. I got out of my car and ran inside the small convenience store that accompanied the gas station and told the clerk what had happened to me. He told me something chilling that I hadn't expected to hear. I wasn't the only person to be chased by the truck or to even come face to face with its insane driver. There had been at least a dozen people over the years claiming to have encountered them, but no matter how many times the police were called and reports filed, the truck and its driver could never be found. "It's like they're phantoms on the highway," he said, stalking unsuspecting drivers up and down this part of the state. "But I hit it with my car," I said. "I felt the bump, heard the metal scraping against it. Now you're saying I imagined it?" He shrugged and had no explanation for it. The clerk walked me back to my car, and I checked the driver's side where I thought I had hit the truck, but there was nothing there. No dents or scrapes or streaks of paint. My car was fine. The clerk stayed with me until I got in my car. All the while, I kept listening for that distinct sound of the truck's engine, but it was gone. Vanished in the night like whispers on the wind. He waved as I drove warily back onto the road and pointed my car for home. I never saw that truck again after that night, but something tells me it's still out there, stalking that highway, waiting for the next unsuspecting driver to pass down that stretch of dark, lonely road.